Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into what happens when that big dream of moving to a new country, well, when it meets a pretty harsh reality. We're going to follow one man's incredible journey from Nigeria to the UK, a story packed with resilience, broken promises, and some seriously unexpected turns.
This quote really gets to the heart of it. So many people start this life-changing move with a crystal-clear picture in their mind of how it's all going to play out. But the truth is, it's almost always way more complicated. It's a challenge one man faced head-on, so let's get right into his story.
Okay, so our story kicks off with a young man named Emi, living in Nigeria, and he had a plan. He thought it was a completely foolproof plan to build his future over in the UK.
So this was the setup. It was a program literally designed for this purpose. You do 2 years of your coursework at home in Nigeria, then you head to the UK to finish that final year. Emi did his part. He put in the work, applied for his visa, and then he waited, just like everybody else in his class.
But then, something he never saw coming happened. While every single one of his classmates got approved, Emi's application was flat out rejected. He said he was just devastated. Can you imagine? The door he was so sure was about to open for him just slammed shut in his face. But believe me, this was far from the end of his story.
So what do you do when your grand plan completely falls apart? Well, Emi didn't just give up. He took a small teaching job teaching Java programming, a decision that, believe it or not, was about to open a completely new door for him.
So get this whole detour started almost by accident. While he was working in Lagos, a marketer came by talking about a UK degree program, but it was based in Malaysia. Emi was intrigued, so he went for it. He ends up moving to Malaysia for 4 years, and his hard work paid off. Big time. He earned a first-class degree, which, boom, qualified him for a fully funded PhD scholarship. His original dream of studying in the UK was finally back on the table.
And so Emi finally arrives in the UK. Scholarship secured. He sails through his 1-year master's degree. But he had this feeling, A PhD is a 4-year commitment, and he just wasn't totally convinced that the government funding from back home would actually last that long.
And wouldn't you know it, his worst fears came true. After just his first year, there was a change in government, and the money for his scholarship, it just stopped. No warning, no email, no explanation. The promise was broken, and he was left completely in the dark.
Let's just break down how bad this really was. For his first year, he was funded. Everything's going according to plan. But for his second and his third years, absolutely nothing. Zero. He was stranded right in the middle of a PhD with no financial support whatsoever.
So this is the million-dollar question, right? How on earth did he survive this? He's in the middle of this incredibly demanding PhD program, and his funding has been completely cut off. He had to figure out a way to pay the bills, and fast.
He hit the pavement pretty hard and found that getting a job in his actual field, IT, was next to impossible without any local UK experience. But the jobs that were available, and where he actually had a kind of secret weapon, were in customer service.
See, that time he spent working for a big telecommunications company back in Malaysia, that ended up being his golden ticket. Because he dealt with customers from all over, Malaysia, Singapore, the UK, potential employers saw it as really valuable international experience. In some cases, it was even better than if he'd only worked locally. And just like that, it helped him land a part-time job with a major UK company.
And look, this wasn't just him stumbling into good luck. Faced with a genuine crisis, Emi didn't panic. He got methodical. He came up with a really clear, practical plan to take back control and support himself.
So what was his playbook? First things first, he immediately applied for his national insurance number. You absolutely have to have that to work legally in the UK. Then he started job hunting, but he was smart about it. He specifically looked for roles where his unique international background would be a huge plus, and that's what led him to a 20-hour-a-week job that, crucially, still allowed him to continue his studies.
Now, this part-time work was bringing in somewhere between £600 and £800 a month. It wasn't a fortune, not by a long shot, but it was just enough to cover his bills. This became his survival wage, the lifeline that kept him afloat while the future of his PhD was completely up in the air.
And here's where the story takes an incredible twist. By the time the government finally released the funding for his second year, Emi was already well into his 4th year of the PhD. He had managed to survive for 2 full years completely on his own. In his own words, he felt like a higher power had already sorted everything out for him long before any official help ever showed up.
So, what's the big takeaway here? Emmy's story is just such a powerful reminder that the path we map out for ourselves is rarely the one we end up walking. His journey shows that when the dream you've so carefully planned for completely collapses, what really, truly matters is the resilience and resourcefulness that you never even knew you had.